it's the magic world of Coprolalia.
Oh, it's a magic world.
We've been throwing gnomes, boys.
Tossing gnomes.
Gnome tossing. You got a gnome when to toss them, and gnome when to hold them. I can't play keyboard and talk at the same time. I fuck up my rhythm.
Gnome solo.
That was just to do that. That was just to hold us over until the music starts, and here we go. This is bloody Coprolalia, a podcast that continues to exist despite many online petitions. I'm Rye.
I'm also Rye.
And well, yeah, we're a couple of artsy-fartsy boys who do little drawings on Instagram and other places, and we like to talk about all kinds of shit on this thing.
And we like to say the funny words.
Last time we talked about AI sex, so I guess roll up your sleeves because we're going to get deep into all kinds of weird shit. I have actually been watching a lot more stuff about AI and about technology in general. Oh, actually, here's what I want to talk about first, because I've always had excitement about bionics. This music sounds like what's that fucking band? Mr. Bungle. It sounds like Mr. Bungle.
Yeah.
Ooh. Anyway, I've always had an attraction to bionics because of Star Wars. Always just thought they were
Bionics?
sick. Yeah, like bionic limbs.
Yeah. I just haven't heard the term bionics before. I like it.
Is that the right word?
Study mechanical systems that function like living organisms or parts of living organisms. Yeah, nice.
There we go. Yep.
What the fuck is Bionicles?
I guess they because they're bionic machines, right?
Well, but they're entirely machines.
That does seem to be the case. I always thought Bionicles were really weird. It's a very strange series.
I dig them. For one Christmas, this was like a mistake on my behalf, really. I told both my mum and my dad that I wanted the white Bionicle. Mm-hmm. And because they weren't together,
yeah,
they separately both gave me the white Bionicle for Christmas. So I got two of them.
Nice.
And I found out that you can actually like make special Bionicles that utilize like all the parts, like four-armed Bionicles with like two heads and stuff.
Yeah.
Sweet.
They had like little instruction booklets included, didn't they, that told you the other ones you could build if you got the other ones.
Right.
So cheeky though, and like it's obviously just marketing to get kids to buy more shit. But at the same time, it was so much fun. It was so much fun to collect and build all these funky, cool Bionicles that you could only do if you had certain ones. And all your bloody friends were jelly. It's like that. Kind of torn, especially as a kid. I mean, no, as a kid, you just don't care. You're just collecting shit because it's cool as all hell. But as you get older, and you kind of realize how companies were just able to scam children into buying shit, well, with their parents' money.
Yeah, totally. I think that's why my mum didn't want me to watch Cheese TV and whatever it became, because it was just like Hot Wheels ads and Barbie ads and fucking non-stop toy ads that were like heavy rock music, just no buy this fucking car.
It's so absurd when you watch it back. But then I don't know. But collecting Bionicles was great fun, and like being able to build multiple different ones with the other parts was pretty cool. Not as cool as regular Lego though, because the regular Lego you had much more freedom. Like, you were allowed to. Yeah,
it's all about the freedom. Anyway, you can talk about Bionics now instead of me taking it on a Bionicle tangent.
I had the Bionicle board game. That was pretty fun. It was like a.
Heard of that.
It was like a segmented board though, so like the map would change each time you played, depending on how the board was laid out. That's pretty sweet. Anyway,
interesting.
So I was looking at Bionics before, and these are just things you can just go on YouTube and watch anyway, and I suggest you bloody do because it's so much fun. But I was surprised at how far we've come. I was thinking we would have kind of moving robotic limbs, like each finger, a little further on. I was expecting another good 10 years, but I was watching people fucking catching balls and stuff like that with their robot arms. Like it hooks up to your. They have like sensors on what remains of your arm, and it then just operates the arm as normal. You just think to open your hand as you normally would, and the robot hand opens it. Fucking amazing.
Wow, that's the kind of thing I'd see in a movie and just go, yeah, how the fuck are they gonna do that?
Yeah. It's so much closer than we expected.
Wow. Because I've met quite a few people who either have limbs missing or they were just born without it.
Yeah.
And so this one person I did know, she didn't have a hand, but what she did have was like a nub.
Yeah.
And there were like these little tiny, almost like they weren't really fingers. They were just like lumps that were coming out of the nub.
Yeah.
And I think she could actually like wiggle them or something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's not a huge stretch to say that like the fingers would react to those little baby finger things.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be sensitive, but like
it's hard to
just realistic.
Yeah.
I'm sure that would translate.
Well, there was one I was seeing that was like they were 3D printing these things to bring the price way down for children and stuff like that. And they actually they get a mold of your particular. I'm trying to dance around the word stump or something like that, but I'm just not sure if there's a way to do it.
Nub.
Yeah. But anyway, so they get a 3D model of your arm, or whatever remains, and then they 3D, and then that way they can put it into their system and actually work out a comfortable fit and where they can kind of connect nerve endings and stuff like that.
Nice.
Yeah, fucking amazing. Oh, okay. Here's the big one though. This is really exciting. This is the huge. I mean, that's already exciting, but here's a huge one. It's the first time recently where they operated on this woman's arm who lost it due to a raccoon bite of all things. Like the raccoon bit her, and she just got her entire arm was infected. They had to amputate. It was fucked. What a horrible, what a shitty way to lose an arm. That's just so frustrating.
If only raccoons weren't condemned to live in shitty conditions, they wouldn't have like disease. Do you know what I mean? Like if we were actually
tiny little houses,
if we let them live with us, they wouldn't be living on the disgusting trash that we throw out.
We should build them little tiny communities, and we should go in there with little
I've been thinking
bottles of disinfectant and get it all cleaned up for them.
the way that there's like in Africa they build these bridges over highways so that they're like animal crossings.
Yep.
I think every city should be set up so that they just have animal like sections. And make them like, obviously because of the way animals work, they're sort of like tribalistic in a way. They will, instead of it just being different skin colors, it's like it's different species entirely that they're fighting with. So they don't really get along super well, especially if they eat one another. But so there are lots and lots of animals that are either like herbivores or whatever. They don't fight one another. Like raccoons, like possums, things like that. Just make spaces that they can live in, and give them little pipes and things that they can travel through.
Would probably even just save money due to like having to cut down on roadkill services, like roadkill removal services, stuff like that. Anyway, back to the idea.
It'll create jobs though, looking after those little pipes, making sure there's like food and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
And who wouldn't want to do that? Who wouldn't want to?
Oh,
go
I'd love to do
yeah.
it. I'd love to be like a possum
herder
sanctuary guy.
We actually do have little possum highways in Australia, like going over
cool.
major roadways. Like they're just lines that go across the highway, but it's so possums can get across.
Yep.
Anyway, so they operated on her arm so her arm was cut off just above the elbow, I think, and they operated and took some of the nerve endings and actually put them attached them to the skin instead.
Yeah.
And so when they touched in particular parts on her skin, it felt like
the
her
signal
fingers
went through.
Yeah, the signal went through, but the brain still thought that the arm was there. I'm assuming you heard of phantom limbs, where when you lose an arm, the brain still thinks that the arm is there. It doesn't process that it's gone, and so often you'll get pain in your arm that isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they could touch her skin, and she would feel it in her fingers that were non-existent. And so then what they did is then the new bionic limb. First of all, she could operate it just with her mind, just by thinking about it as she normally does, as she normally would with her old flesh arm. Anyway, but then when they touched the fingers of the robotic arm or the bionic arm, it would send little buzzers in at the right part on her skin, and so she would feel like a tingling sensation in her finger that wasn't really there. So this way, if she was blindfolded, she can actually feel things in the dark. Like she knows when she she's found contact with an item, with an object. Hugely exciting, and this is like progress so far. I was looking at this like a couple of years ago, and it was nowhere near to this degree. It's jumping forward so much, which is really exciting. I guess because there's such a need for it. Anyway, so I got really excited.
Yeah. Yep.
The part that I hadn't really thought about before, which I thought a little bit, but I was surprised to see it come a long way as well, was a guy who lost his legs due to frostbite. He had gone hiking, and him and his mate were both trapped on the mountain, and they both lost their legs due to frostbite.
Damn.
Or at least I'm not sure about his friend actually. I know he did. He lost both his limbs, and so he decided that he was going to focus the rest of his career on developing bionic limbs.
As you do.
Yeah.
It's pretty selfish of him, really. It's like how Matthew Broderick... no, sorry, wrong guy. Michael J. Fox. It's only once he got Parkinson's he suddenly devoted his life to donating money to Parkinson's.
It's like fucking
he didn't care at all until he got it himself.
That's just it's human nature, isn't it? Like we're so bad at foreseeing where we need to put our energy, what we need to put our energy into until it's already happened. Like global warming is a fantastic fucking example. Like, how much more do we need to go through? How much more evidence do we need before we go, oh, okay, now we really fucking got to do something now? Like, until like we're actually the ones in the major weather event, we're not gonna care, which is stupid and awful.
The fact that as long as the statistics say like it'll be our grandkids who have to pick up after us, like that's enough for people to go, oh, cool, so I can do whatever the fuck I want, and I'll be gone. I won't be here.
That goes really well into another topic I want to talk about today. But I'm just going to quickly finish about this. So this guy lost both his legs. He started building bionic limbs. Oh, my apologies.
That's the first time you've apologized for burping in a long career of burping.
Sorry, I fucking peaked the fuck out of my microphone. That was what that was. My apologies to people. Anyway, so within a few months, he said something like 6 months. He started working on these limbs, and they looked into how the muscles actually move, and they started designing robot parts to replace it. He was actually climbing better than his two-legged counterparts. up these mountains. Like, he went back to climbing and was doing it better because he could custom fit these feet to have like special grips that would grip onto the ledges and shit. Yeah. He had ice picks basically stuck on his feet, and he was climbing up mountains like they were fucking nothing. It was crazy.
Well, why does he stop there? Why not just like turn himself into a fucking mountain climbing spider?
Yeah, like start adding limbs.
Have you seen that picture? It's like a weird painting of these people who have like 3 legs and they're climbing up a mountain and just like waving to one another.
What?
I'm gonna find that image so you can throw it up on the
mountain
video.
climbing spider people. I'm gonna search that, see what happens. There's a lot of cool hammocks. That's fun. You find me the thing. I'm gonna keep talking about this thing. So the point that they so one video that I then watched, I think this was about the 3D printed ones. The question then that they started asking, well, one point they brought up in this, which I somehow never thought of, was we're going to have to start changing laws and things like that. Like, we're going to have to start looking into... Totally. Hang on, people can run faster, people have stronger limbs than is physically possible with human muscle. Like, what's that going to change? Like, we're actually going to have to start asking ourselves some serious philosophical questions about how we treat people with these kind of things.
Those discussions have already started in like literature and video games, and movies, and the reason is because we should get a head start. Let's figure out what could go wrong immediately before it all actually happens. Yeah. In the game Deus Ex, or just in Deus Ex in general, there's a theme of future,
like cyberpunk,
future technology. Yeah. But specifically in Human Revolution and in Mankind Divided,
human augmentation is
so augmentation.
Yep.
There become factions of people who are pro-organic, like pro, and you could almost say that religion is actually going to take this stance. Like, you shouldn't go against God's creature.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't be able to modify the natural human organic body. And people with augmentations, like, you can probably see them not being allowed into churches and things because it goes against God. There's a lot of social things that will arise that it's all bullshit. Like, I mean, you're gonna have people who have arms where they can like hide drugs inside their wrist, so that like there's a whole lot of like criminal activity that might get heightened by augmentations. So then that projects onto them that they're more likely to be a bad person or something. It's pretty ridiculous.
I think this was I think we touched on this last time, or perhaps I think our conversation in the last episode kind of brought this to my attention, was thinking about as AI has become more prevalent. Obviously, there's going to be discussions around AIs in terms of how we interact with them. Like, if they hit a level of if they become sentient, and we have to figure out what we decide sentient is, and decide what consciousness is, and decide all these kind of things, which we don't really know yet. But we're gonna have to start answering those questions pretty quick. Anyway, once AI start entering into things like politics and things like into political systems and just the way our government works, I'm really excited about the prospect of AIs entering into things like welfare and systems like that, where human error and lack of human power, like a lack of enough people working on particular issues, it causes a lot of suffering for a lot of people. I mean, like, we've got it pretty good in Australia. As shitty as Centrelink is, like, at least we have a decent welfare system that can take care of a decent amount of people. But clearly the biggest issue is lack of staff, is lack of people working behind these desks and answering phone calls. You can be on the phone for 3 hours just to be turned down with something
or ignored. They don't turn off their phones when at the end of the shift. So Like they'll just let the phones continue to ring. They won't.
Oh my God.
They won't pick it up and say, "Look, sorry, we've ended for the day and we're all heading home." They just go, "Yep, someone will be with you," and then if it goes past the close date, they just leave you on hold.
Yeah.
So that is a huge glaring issue. But I would say an even greater issue that's sort of fighting welfare at the moment is just the attitude of the political party we have in power.
Yeah,
being true. That like the dole bludgers, that attitude of, oh, these people are just trying to get away with being lazy.
Yeah.
These people, oh, if we start giving them handouts, then our society will run out of people to do the work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Here's I'm kind of dancing around topics a lot today. I guess I didn't actually prepare many topics, and I didn't think I would have much to talk about. But now that I've started talking, I've got a lot of things to say.
Excellent.
Here's something that came up again after last week's podcast, and I had a chat to my brother about it. And so yeah, that's kind of part of it, is bringing AIs into systems like welfare, so they can even answer phones. Maybe that's further down the track, right? But they can do paperwork, and they can just do a lot of back end shit that is just taking up manpower when we could get an AI to do it.
It's also a waste of a human's like potential.
Yeah, for sure. Like they
to
could
spend
actually
hours of your day and even days out of your week just writing in bureaucratic stuff that no one's really going to check up on.
Realistically, a welfare officer or someone working with welfare should be trying to help people. They should be talking to real people and trying to figure out how they're going to get their lives on track, not dealing with paperwork and forms. That's where the AI comes in. Anyway, my second... So with our current political party and certain ways they're approaching things like that. One thought I had the other day was with blockchain. As we move into new ways of authenticating things like sales, like with Bitcoin, with blockchain and other technologies, we could potentially move into an era where we have more control over things like that. Through this idea is, if we had something like blockchain, if we had something like that we could authenticate votes online, then, well, first of all, we can all vote from our computers in terms of an election. If we want to elect a new government in, we can all do it from our computers, which would make it a lot easier for more people to vote, make much more convenient, more voice will be heard, the people will have hopefully a better voice. But something else that I thought of is, if we have blockchain and we have, or whatever system, if we have something that can authenticate our votes, we can also start to vote as an entire society, as a community, on issues actually as they come up, because it's far more convenient now.
Yeah, that's called direct democracy, I believe.
Well, I think with technology it could be a lot more available, or it could be an available concept, because at the moment
also more corruptible, unfortunately.
I was thinking, well, yeah, it could be, because obviously hacking is still a potential, but is corruption not already such a huge problem in politics and in society anyway?
Yeah. So people are corrupt as hell. You could almost argue that AI aren't, because they would have to be given the script in order to actually be acting in an evil way. Yeah. It would require a human being's input in order for it to be corrupt. So my thoughts are just that, as whoever controls the software, unfortunately, controls like the legitimacy of the outcome. And
well, with the idea
of those people are important.
With the idea of blockchain, I mean, but then the people already hold power. Like, there's already people in power. There's already systems that hold power. We're just kind of moving it and hopefully adding more transparency. With a similar concept to blockchain, if we have versions of the software that is constantly being evaluated by many different people, it's like a Wikipedia article. You know, if anyone can go in there and they can change it so it says something totally unfactual, but then the entire world can see that, and anyone can go in and edit it. So if we have more people, if we just have more transparency on these systems, then hopefully people will be able to see when corruption is taking place, and we can actually address it as it comes up anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, if you get more people on board, then I guess the potential for corruption goes down, because if you've got, let's say the code is like open source, the software they're running, it's like open, people can look at it and go, yeah, this all checks out. If you've got enough tech specialists having a look who are able to then criticize the code and say, hey, this is a potential for manipulation or whatever.
Yeah.
Then it's going to be better. It's going to be in its perfect form, really, with enough people's input and with enough transparency.
Well, hopefully these technologies will enable that kind of thing. As long as we need to obviously put them into. We need to start plugging them into these systems, and that will be an issue, is getting governments to give up some of their power. But certain countries might do it, and then others will either follow suit or will, I guess, start to look bad, essentially, in the eyes of their own citizens. Just as the information age has given people the tools now to start addressing their governments more directly and start seeing what the governments are doing. I think that's kind of the most exciting part about social media, is social media allows us to just share cat videos and memes, but it's been used to coordinate rallies and protests in countries where there's more dictatorships and countries where there's more corrupt governments, where it was much harder in the past to coordinate such a thing because the government had much tighter hold on communications. And now with social media and other things like that, it's a lot easier to get around it. So hopefully, just as the information age has done that, the age of artificial intelligence and blockchains and things like that will also continue to hopefully corrode corruption. 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 Yeah.
So what's a blockchain, by the way? You've mentioned a few times now.
As far as I can tell, basically the main concept that I've kind of latched onto here is instead of one. So in terms of Bitcoin is a good example, because that's how Bitcoin works. Instead of the bank having the ledger that has a list of all the transactions, who has what money, and all that. A copy of the ledger is given to many different people who are using the blockchain, and that way, if there's a discrepancy on one of them where somebody's trying to hack into it, or somebody's trying to say, "Oh, I actually have more money than it says on this ledger," then everyone else can check theirs, or automatically the system automatically checks everybody else's ledger and goes, "No, all the other ones say no. All the other ones say this, and so you're clearly tampering with yours."
Right.
So it's a peer-to-peer kind of thing.
Eventually, we're going to, for our own personal status and wealth and everything, we're going to need some sort of device that is paired with ourselves. Some sort of account that is just us, essentially.
I guess
in the digital sphere.
I guess we kind of already have that in our old political systems, like in America has its social security numbers and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
ID will probably become a more difficult thing to control. I'm not sure. Those are the kind of concepts where I have no idea on, and
people should be able to step outside their public identity. I feel like there's quite a lot of people who are quite motivated by that. I don't really care that much for hiding my identity, and for the most part, if the CIA or whatever was listening into what I say and also following what I do, they wouldn't find anything particularly illegal at all. Nothing worth their time anyway. Fuck. What were you saying?
It's an interesting with that whole thing with people feeling Like they want to get away from their online personas, or they want the government to know less about their personal information and stuff like that. Things like Facebook mining information. I'm not actually sure where I stand with it. Part of me, like, I feel like that's kind of part of being part of a society anyway, and we've gone through phases of that throughout history with all kinds of different things, and like just the fact that you have to kind of carry ID on you at all times is almost is kind of a way, a similar kind of deal. And now it's just collected more. It's collected, I guess, by more third parties. But again, I'm not sure if I trust the government with all my information either. And so,
well, if you just keep, like, if you behave like a shapeshifter or something like that, just constantly reinvent like your behaviors on the internet or your identity and just in general life, and who knows, like the changes might even trick the system entirely, and they might not know who that person was a year ago compared to who you are currently.
I've definitely been considering looking into getting some of the what was it, like NordVPN or something like that.
Yeah,
and start looking into my privacy a bit more. Almost more out of curiosity, just to see what happens, see what kind of changes with my online experience.
Apparently, Nord, they like to sponsor podcasts. So if you're listening in, because we're unprotected right now, so they might be able to hear us. You should sponsor us. There's
a good chance this podcast itself is going to be hacked, and I'd love to start protecting it, but unfortunately I just don't have the money.
We need to protect the podcast.
But I've had several right-wing hacker groups try and jump in here and implant their own audio so they can take over our listeners.
In fact, like...
What? Who knows what's going on? It's all a fucking nightmare back here.
Have you got a phone call sound effect?
Can do like a hang on, but how do I do this? Surely, let me find something. you know what fucking sound?
Yeah, just do that over and over for like about 10 seconds.
That's what phones sound like. Hang on.
So I wanna call up the CIA and see if they're listening in.
Sure. God damn. Fucking production value to take it to 10, baby. There you go. That's something better. That sounds like a phone call.
Yep. There we go. Sounds like it's ringing. I've pressed in the numbers and now it's ringing.
American CIA here.
Hi.
Hi. How did you get this number?
It's actually on your Wikipedia page.
We haven't updated that in 35 years.
Well, you must be the same CIA.
There's only one.
How interested are you in the shit talk of random people on Facebook and YouTube?
It depends on how many words you slip in there. If you say 9/11, we'll be on your quick smart. But apart from that, we're just trying to sell you couches just like anybody else.
Is 9/11 one word?
Yeah, in my system, yes. Hashtag 9/11.
I'm glad you have a good sense of humor about the privacy, the violation of privacy of the citizens.
Well, you know what they say. You know what we say around about American citizens around here? Fuck them.
How come you listen into information from other countries that are not yours?
Well, last time, bloody Russia hacked our bloody election, so we don't want a repeat of that. And we've heard rumblings that Australia's up to the same.
Well, surely if they can justify looking into America's election system, then you're using the same logic in order to spy on them as well.
It's all kind of ring around the rosy sort of kind of thing.
Yeah.
You might also notice that governments like to think that they have a lot of power, and if we're spying on each other, it makes us feel pretty good. It makes us feel like there's some sort of espionage, when realistically all we want to do is get more oil and more couches to you. It's really all about selling couches. I really cannot stress that enough.
What's your favorite kind of couch, Mr. CIA?
One of those big L-shaped boys.
I feel you.
Apologies for flicking in and out of different accents. I usually work out in the field, and sometimes it just fucking it's
I'm glad.
seeps through. Sometimes it goes into even alien accents, but those aren't for your civilian ears, let me tell you.
Are you confirming the existence of aliens?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Alright. Sounded like you were, but I can basically trust everything you're saying to me right now, so.
That's the one thing you can do with the CIA is trust us.
Excellent. You've lightened the load. You've lightened the burden I felt. Bombs, 9/11, Islam.
See, no, those are the ones I'm talking about. You can't say those. Alright, I'm gonna have to hang up right now. I'm gonna, bombs away, boys!
Wow.
How long does it take for a bomb to get from America to Australia? I'm going to search this up. How long does it take for a bomb to reach Australia from America? Question mark. Let's see. Could North Korea missile hit Australia? That's not what I asked. But anyway, cool. I'm going to assume it's going to take at least 20 minutes, which should wrap us up quite nicely. I'll try and get this uploaded before Australia gets bombed.
Wait. What was the last thing you said before Australia getting bombed?
I'll try and get this uploaded.
Ah, yes. Oh yeah, it'll take a while. But now that your connection speed is better.
Okay, you know what? I want to actually do it. What didn't we have a segment? God, this fucking podcast is so stupid. We had
Fallout 76.
Well, yeah, okay. We had a segment a couple of weeks ago where we would complain about one thing each.
Nice.
We actually had a term for it. Kind of what it was. Basically, like what grinds our gears. I've got two for you.
Yeah.
First of all, yes, as you just mentioned, I have a better upload speed now. I have a better internet connection. If anyone listening outside of Australia, just know Australia's internet is a giant pile of dog shit from the 1600s, and it's can't fucking do anything. We can barely watch 1080p YouTube without a little bit of lag. I can now watch not 4K. What's the one under that? 2K. I can watch 2K 60 FPS. YouTube without any hassles. That's pretty exciting to me. My complaint, however, is this NBN, our new connection, cost taxpayers a shitload of fucking money. It's also been majorly delayed, and I just got mine connected. Really exciting. Turns out it cost me $250 to get for a connection fee though. So what the fuck were we? What the fuck were the what was the taxpayer money for? Like I thought that was kind of the point, and it had already been slowed down. They had already apologized for that, and then we still individually have to pay $250 for a new connection. That's,
individually?
Yeah. Like each household. Like for the first one.
Okay.
So for the first household, so for the first time you connect it to a new household, $250. So what the fuck were we paying for anyway? That's my gripe. So fuck Australia.
I think it's like everyone has been slowly moving into more and more exploitative business practices.
It does seem like that.
It used to be that like just the actual, if someone had a successful business plan, it was because they had some sort of product that no one else had, and that's how the success came. Like think about companies like Coke and Sriracha sauce. They're just a product that people continuously want and need, and that's what makes them successful.
Yeah,
it's not that they've changed their business plan, so now that you have to subscribe to Coke, and they slowly up their subscription fee, and and they actually slowly reduced the ingredients of Coke to the point where like it's so cheap to produce that it doesn't even taste like it used to taste.
Hang on. I thought that started out like I thought you were on the side of Coke. Was that all sarcasm? Because Sriracha I'm on board with. Sriracha is incredible as a company. You just exactly said what Coke does.
Except for the subscription service.
Don't give them any fucking ideas. I tried a Diet Coke the other day. It's fucking awful. Couldn't get through it.
I would subscribe to Sriracha sauce now that I think about it.
A Sriracha subscription service would be fucking amazing.
Yeah, if they just sent me a bottle, like a new bottle every month or whatever, like a
totally.
big-ass bottle.
Yeah.
Tabasco as well. It should just be a hot sauce subscription box. What do you think?
Hang on. If there's not one already, hot sauce subscription, I'm fucking looking at it. Hey, 5 Oh, yes, there are. There's 5. Here's a list of the 5 best hot sauce subscription boxes. Holy shit. Dude.
Is that a BuzzFeed article?
No, Urban Taste Bud. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so sick. Yes. But they're like... so there is one from Sriracha that has a bottle Sriracha, Sriracha sea salt, Sriracha hot chili sauce popcorn, 2 keychain little things, and a Sriracha bacon jerky. Damn, son.
Whoa.
Yeah, fucking... Here's one that gives you a whole bunch of them. Shit. This is great. Not a sponsor, but gladly would be sponsored. Any hot sauce companies that want to sponsor us with one of the... Because everyone's sponsored by goddamn... what's that? Lootbox. Everyone's sponsored by Lootbox.
No, fuck that.
I want to be...
the most common with me is Squarespace. I see a lot of people... sponsored by Squarespace,
I just got a Squarespace website because they advertised so well. Also because my favorite podcast got sponsored by them, so I used their code BANTER. You should all go listen to Dynamic Banter and use their code on a new website. Squarespace, hit us the fuck up because we would love to be sponsored by literally anybody at this point. Sriracha box though, fucking hit us up because god damn. Yes, baby boy, it looks so good. Hot sauce, popcorn, salt, other things. $39. Sorry, $29. $29 gets you all that every month. That is tight. Anyway, what are we talking about?
Exploitative business practices.
Yes, I'm sure it's been a thing for just all of history. Look at the pyramids. I don't think it's yeah, slavery
investment.
Well, I mean, kind of though, right?
They were trying to enter the afterlife or some shit.
Oh, okay, yeah. So second gripe. Okay. I wasn't gonna make this a big E3. No, we've talked about all kinds of shit today. But here's the last segment. Might be an E3 podcast. So gear up. I know one person who will probably listen to this who would love a bit of E3 coverage. But
we've also got a letter today again. It's quite large.
Cool. I also want to give a quick fucking hell. My mind is everywhere today, but I want to give a quick shout out to bloody Shane, who commented big time on one of our nice podcasts a few weeks ago. We were gonna kind of do a bit of back and forth about that comment, but it's been a little while now, so maybe we'll just wait for another one. But he's been very, very supportive of the podcast and some very kind words sent our way, and made me feel really good about what we're doing here, which is really nice. He used the word, I think, very honest and raw. Which I think is a super nice way of putting that.
Should we refer to the comments by the username used though?
Yeah.
Just for the sake that, like, if they...
True.
If they want to be talking shit as well, maybe they just want to have their screen name.
That makes a lot more sense. Screen name is Cesorpid.
I like reading it as like Sorpid.
Sorry.
But yeah,
if he's after and a minute, I can't fucking talk. If he's after being anonymous, no one else listens to the podcast. It's not a big deal. E3 babies. Do I have an air horn thing? E3. Okay, I just want to
Explain
complain.
what E3 is first.
Oh, that's a good point. This is welcome to Podcasting 101. E3 is a big video game convention. It's like the biggest in the world, where all the big major companies announce their latest products, and basically a whole bunch of pop culture loving people go and jizz all over their seats and get really excited about games that aren't going to come out for a couple of years usually, and are also going to be loot boxed to hell.
I swear to God, there's a masochistic element to it as well.
Explain.
Because so everyone's been waiting for like their favorite game to be announced or whatever. And they pay all this money. They sit in a crowd for hours. They listen to people that they don't like. They don't really care about the opinions of, because they're like marketers. They're just talking about like the Xbox in general. Just to see a 30-second clip of some nondescript mountains.
Yeah.
And that's all. That's all they get.
Yeah. I would love to go to the floors and like walk around and like see, because I'm sure later on throughout the rest of the thing,
the playable stuff would be worth
trails
it.
be going, playable demos, all that kind of shit. Seeing all the costumes would be a lot of fun. But yeah, fucking sitting in that goddamn audience for hours and just, I don't know how people can get through it without literally breaking a jaw from the amount of cringe on those goddamn stages. It's a nightmare. Anyway,
well, because it's funny.
Yeah, but it's funny from here. Like, I can watch a YouTube video and I can turn it off when it gets too much. When Todd Howard just gets too much to bear, I can turn it off. And
because a lot of these people, they studied like coding and game design and all of this stuff. They're like usually nerdy, to say, like, for the lack of a better term. They're like maybe introverted, and they're being forced onto a stage in front of thousands of people. And they don't know where to put their hands, and they're going, how is everyone today?
Trying to get people hyped. Anyway, Fallout 76. I think we've briefly touched on Fallout before on here before. Anyway, that was a poorly worded fucking sentence. I think before we have touched on Fallout 76 before. Anyway, I'm a huge Fallout fan, from Fallout 1 and 2, and also even Fallout Tactics. Fuck it, I'll say it. And New Vegas, big fan of New Vegas. More into the role playing and more into the setting, more into the stories and the lore and the darkness of all of it. But with bloody Fallout 3, not a giant fan. I enjoyed it once I modded it to hell to make it more into a survival game. That was a bit of fun.
Nice.
Fallout 4, I got super fucking bored with, and I'll bloody discuss why right now. The main problem with Fallout 4 for me was, well, first of all, lack of story, lack of depth to the dialogue, lack of depth to the stories, lack of depth to lack of depth, almost all of it. It's all about base building and kind of a bit of exploration, but then the enemies aren't that varied and the guns are okay, but gunplay is still not great. No, I wouldn't say any Bethesda game has good combat. Sorry, any Bethesda like RPG has good combat. There's other things published by Bethesda that has got good combat. But the biggest thing with Fallout was feeling powerless. That was my favorite part about 1 and 2, is you felt like you were powerless and it felt like a real struggle to get better. That's what makes kind of a good RPG, is progression, feeling like you're growing, feeling like you're progressing stories and getting better shit, getting better loot. And so the last thing that you would get in any of the Fallout games was power armor. That was the hardest thing to get, and when you got it, it was a real reward because it was really incredibly overpowered, and you felt really, really powerful, really scary, and that was really exciting. But usually to get it was a huge fucking hassle, a huge danger to go through these last kind of quests. But in bloody Fallout 4, you get it in the first 20 fucking minutes, which is ridiculous. It takes all the progression out of it. You get one of the most powerful items in the game, and people will argue that, okay, cool, but you have to get all the power cores and that to power them, and that, so you still have to hunt for shit. But it's still a Fallout game, and so after a while, you have surplus of everything, and you get a surplus of power cores, and you get a surplus of power armor. I had like 8 sets of power armor after playing for maybe a few, maybe like 40 hours. Just fucking ridiculous.
I also had so many power cores, it was like insane.
Yeah, you didn't need to take off the power
We're talking
armor.
about 4 here, yeah?
Yeah, 4.
Yeah.
It looked like I was the goddamn Fallout Iron Man. Like I had 8 lined up in a row in my house, which looked cool, and I was happy to do that.
Look cool.
And I was like, oh, cool, I get to choose. Now I've got 8, and they're all kind of slightly different. That's a bit of fun. But then it also just takes out, again, the progression, because now any quest I can just go and use my power armor for, and takes out the danger.
Yeah, people really don't take enough care for that element of video games.
Punishment.
So like if you want what you're doing to be meaningful, there are a number of ways you can do it. If it's difficult, it's meaningful when you beat it.
Yeah.
If you die and you lose a certain amount of time from your life, that's another thing that becomes meaningful too.
Yeah.
So that the fear of dying in a video game is there. It's like an actual real element. Fallout, because of its like casual fan base, not only is it a very easy game, almost all of the time.
Yeah.
But you can like save whenever you want, and dying, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
So you're playing a game where you're basically it's like a ride. You're just on a ride. There's no like actual thing going on. There's no like challenging of your brain. You're not strategizing until you mod the fuck out of it, until you actually change the game from what they actually made into something that is a meaningful experience.
I'll tell you how the first ones did it though, because you can save any time in the first ones. You could technically argue that they have the same issue, but the way that they get around that is that you really care about the stories, because your decisions are really important. The whole point is it's an RPG, it's a role-playing game, and it's closer to something like Planescape Torment, where it's really about your decisions, your dialogue trees, and making the right choices to progress the storyline in the way that you want it to progress. And when you fuck up, you might not know for a little while. It might be further down. You might be playing for hours before you realize, oh fuck, I actually made the wrong decision there, and now I have to live with that, or I have to go back fucking hours to change it, which you wouldn't do anyway. And with these ones, like, it's not so much the case.
The amount of decisions you make are so woven into like what you're doing that it's not a simple quick load that fixes that. Yeah.
Fallout 4 and 3 to a degree. Vegas was a bit better because it was built by some of the people who actually made some of the original Fallouts. Chris Everlon, I think, was the name I want to use. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But with Fallout 4 especially, it's like, there's decisions, but it's one of those classic ones in all video games when they no, you get to make the decisions, you get to decide which way the story goes, but it's just as simple as, do you want to be a bad guy or a good guy? Like, that's kind of all you do. Like, in Fallout 4, there's only the option of like fucking everyone over or being the hero, and there's no subtlety to it. There's not lots of decisions to kind of build up to this weird slightly muddled kind of version of being a good guy, or slightly lighter side of being a bad guy. There's just one or the other, or you can be a cocky asshole as well. There's usually that dialogue option in Fallout 4, and I found that just very, very boring. So my point was, in Fallout 76, we don't know that much about it yet, except for the trailer. In the trailer, it shows a brotherhood. Well, it was not a brotherhood. They show a guy wearing power armor, getting hit by a bomb blast, or like being caught up in the fallout and dying. And then 20 years later, they all come out of the vault and they have to rebuild society. I don't hate that concept, but then the thing that really pissed me off is you see them as a group walking out into the wasteland, Several of them walk past the power armor, but then one guy's like, hang on, wait, what's this bloody power armor sitting over here for? He starts putting it on, and then he's got the power armor on. And according to the law, that first of all, that shouldn't work, because you have to be fitted, and you have to have power armor training to be able to use power armor. But also, it's been sitting there for 20 years. It was hit by a bomb blast. It's sitting there rotting in the ground. Like, it shouldn't really work. But it confirmed to me, at least, that they're going to give you power armor straight away again, and that just fucks up the progression. And I just don't care now. I just don't care. I know there's going to be no punishment against me in any of my decisions in the game, because I'm going to have the fucking best armor in the game from the very start, yet again, and I just don't care. There's my bloody rant.
Nice.
Giles, you got anything? Oh yeah, you were pissed off about the Elder Scrolls. Why don't we just tear Bethesda apart? Yeah. Fuck Bethesda.
So, yeah, Bethesda needs to pick up its game.
Yeah.
Pretty much the heart of all of the issues that everyone has with Bethesda, apart from the fact that they're as money grubbing as EA at times, is that they're trying to cast too wide of a net. They really just need to return to what is an actual piece of art, and that means taking risks, and that means that maybe a lot of the people don't even like the game, but it's because you tried to do something. Yeah, it's the same issue I have with sort of anyone that's creating a thing, that when they're compromising on integrity entirely because of this the projection, the profit projections being affected by taking risks.
Yeah, I mean that's a classic complaint with things like, all right, great example is superhero films. Like, what's the superhero film that made the most money in comparison to its budget? It was bloody Deadpool 1, and I assume Deadpool 2 had a bigger budget, but it had a small budget because they were taking a risk, but because it was really focused. Same with Logan as well. Like, they had a thought. They were like, okay, let's have this is the core concept, this is the core idea, and we're just going to stick to it. We're not going to try and pander to lots of different groups. We're going to make an R-rated, funny, over-the-top action movie with Deadpool, and they did that, and it worked. But then a Marvel movie like Avengers, even though it makes a shitload of fucking money every time, so fuck me, right? What do I know? But nonetheless, like, they just have to squeeze in so many little bits, and they have to squeeze in different tones and different ideas to try and catch as many people as they can. And
sometimes several different directors.
And multiple directors. And in the end, like, which one have we already forgotten? Like, now that there's a new Avengers out, there's Avengers, the Infinity Ward. Like, we kind of start forgetting about the old ones because they were less memorable.
I think it should be said that Infinity War apparently did make some risks.
Yeah. I
haven't seen it yet.
Me neither.
But apparently, it shocked everyone because they were all expecting the same dumb old thing.
Yeah.
And it was somewhat challenging.
Well, hopefully they're learning, and well, I guess like things like Logan and things like Deadpool is teaching Hollywood again that you can take some risks. But that said as well, every movie coming after Deadpool is trying to also be Deadpool. Things like Suicide Squad getting, again, I think multiple directors and multiple tones and themes kind of getting smushed together over clearly multiple edits to make a piece of shit in the end. Pick a tone and pick an idea and just run with it, and that usually does a lot better. People prefer character and consistency over fucking pandering to lowest common denominator and trying to cast a wide net. Same with pop music. Like, what better example than pop music? Pop music that tries to hit every fucking goal usually gets forgotten. It'll make a shitload of money, but it's not going to be cold. It's not going to be quoted as being the masterpiece of the generation, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the risk, it's like the Room effect, right? The fact that even though it's this whole cringy experience, you can tell that this person was genuinely trying to do something.
Yeah,
and people react to that so much more than they do to someone who's working with a formula or a like a set of guidelines on how to make a correct movie.
Yeah.
So it's, you could almost say that like if someone's at risk of embarrassing themselves, they're almost sort of at the point there where they're like sharing themselves in an honest, like vulnerable way.
Yeah.
I think that's walking that line between embarrassment and just like absolutely pulling something off is like a similar line between genius and insanity. It's all about achieving that balance. Because really, like, people who actually love Fallout really they're not sticking around because Bethesda's doing it well.
Yeah.
In fact, I would say that actual Fallout fans aren't with it anymore. The same way
driven me away.
The same way that Star Wars fans aren't with Star Wars anymore.
Yeah.
So the people who actually brought it into existence and were the fans that made it into a phenomenon are completely rejected and like pushed aside.
Yeah. I would say with things like Star Wars, things like Fallout, like I would actually be more keen because the originals are still there. I can still go and play 1 and 2 and they're the same. They're not going to change. I can go and watch the original Star Wars movies and they're not going to change. They're still there. I mean, well, if George Lucas can just chill the fuck out, which he doesn't have control anymore, so the edits are done now. Regardless, I can go and watch the originals and they're still there. I would prefer for them to either, if they're not, since they can't do the originals, I prefer them to take a risk and take it in a new direction, rather than keep making the same safe moves and keep using the formula. Especially because like Star Wars feels like the old ideas from Star Wars, but with a modern formula that they know works, and so because of that, it doesn't feel like it has any heart and soul. But if they were to take the Star Wars license and do a movie that you'd never expect, like a really... That's what I wanted Rogue One to be. I wanted Rogue One to be much more gritty. I wanted it to be like a World War I style fighting... World War II, more like World War II gritty war movie set in the Star Wars universe. That would be really exciting because it would be something we hadn't seen before. But they hit on that a little bit... But they didn't go all into it. They didn't stick to that idea properly. They still had to have all these other elements that made it feel more like a classic Star Wars movie and more like a classic, more like a modern film, which I just find very, very boring. I would prefer them to take wild risks, and if it fucks up, it fucks up. I've still got the originals, but you might hit on something amazing.
In that regard, do you think that The Last Jedi was a bit of a wild risk?
I mean, I guess so. But no, that was like too far in the other direction of modern formulas. It felt like a Marvel film to me, but also too messy.
Yeah.
Because Marvel,
well, I mean, it's all the same company now.
Yeah, I mean, Marvel still makes good, I would say, arguably good films, but I just find them very boring. But they are consistently fine, and I don't think they had that formula quite fitted to Star Wars quite properly yet, but they'll probably find it. They'll probably find a formula, a slight variation on the Marvel formula that works really well for Star Wars, and then they'll just start churning them out successfully. Right now, obviously, people are very cut down the middle, but our music ended, and I think that's the end of our podcast as well.
Let's do the letter.
Hang on, I'll play some more music. I'm trying to do this without fucking this up, because it's recording live, and I know it's going to fuck up. There we go.
All right. So disclaimer: we like to not read the letters before we read them live, so that we're actually reacting to it.
Yep.
I've given this a quick glance, not really read it, but there's quite a lot of words that are going to offend. Maybe even words that are considered hate speech. However, the context really is not hate speech at all.
Do you want to read this one?
Yeah.
I'll get ready with the duck sound effect. That's going to be my contribution.
I gave a quick read of Spreaker. There are like community guidelines, and it seems like they host quite a few podcasts that are about free speech that are like deliberately.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's go for
it.
All
right, here we go. Dear Coprolalia.
Good start. Wait, hang
on. I was listening. I was listening to H3 podcasts, and they've had this consistent topic over roughly the last 3 or 4 episodes about whether or not you can flush baby wipes.
Okay.
According to a few callers, it's a firm no way, man, regardless of whether they are advertised as flushable or not. Also, they won't say the N-word. I feel like I've had my nuts cut off by not being able to actually say it. But here we go. They also won't say the N-word on air for some reason. I mean, you can't just be told... Wait, what? Oh, here we go. Okay. I mean, you can't just be told to quit being a spineless, autistic fuck-ass. You have to learn it for yourself, am I right? Oh, in case you're unaware, baby wipes are those damp towelettes you buy from the supermarket. Usually come in a sealed plastic box and they are soaked in some kind of soap or sanitizing chemical. They're exactly like those sanitizer wipes you get from KFC, common fast food establishment. Not sure what your policy with product placement is, so just playing it safe. I think we can say KFC.
I'm sure that's fine. If you want to sponsor us, KFC, go ahead. I'm not sure I'll accept a sponsorship.
Anyway, this whole thing got me thinking about stuff I take for granted that probably has a rather large effect on someone else or something else if we're talking animals or plants, because neither of those count as people, being positive or negative. Have you entertained the idea of something you do which is relatively mundane and meaningless to you, but is a rather significant, meaningful contribution to the world of someone or something else which you could be totally unaware of?
Is that the end of the letter?
Not yet. It says here, don't be a faggot and say this podcast. Give us some substance. Oh, okay, so yeah. So we will answer that question, and we can't answer it with this podcast. Warmest regards, some guy who watches H3 podcasts. P.S. Here's a more open-ended question in case Rye is gay about this. And just says something gay like, yeah, I do, and then moves on. Oh, here's your question, Rye.
They've clearly been listening to the podcast. They know what I'm about.
Gun to your head. Who would you fuck, Caitlyn Jenner or Hillary Clinton, and why?
Hang on a second. I need to do some Googling. Because I can't remember which one Caitlyn is.
So Caitlyn Jenner
right.
is previously Bruce Jenner.
I would go Hillary for the story. Because I think being able to... I think... she holds more power in the world, or at least has throughout her life, and I just think having sex with more powerful people is just a better story. Like having sex with Obama while he was president would be just an insane tale to tell. It would also
it would contradict the professional narrative that he has going for himself.
Yeah, true.
In fact, you might even be like, people wouldn't believe you.
No, they wouldn't. But they wouldn't believe I fucked Caitlyn either. So that's my answer. Whoever's got more power, I'm gonna get up in there. Gonna get up all up inside. In terms of Giles, have you got a response for the something that you do?
Question?
Yeah, because I am thinking about it. I also am gonna try and get some more music again.
Well, I find it's surprising how much videos of heavily autistic people on the internet, right? Who are having fits or obsessing, making hour-and-a-half videos about speed runs of Choco Mountain on Mario Kart 64.
Yeah.
Somehow those have a big effect on the internet. People can make subcultures around these
yeah.
Compiling these cringe compilations. Surprisingly huge effect on culture. That's an example of something that just has a surprisingly meaningful effect out of a relatively mundane and meaningless thing. But I think the question specifically refers to something that I do.
Yeah.
I would hope that it's the shit that I share on the internet, personally.
I definitely think that's probably the most realistic answer, is the things that we create artistically should have the biggest effect. But I've actually got one that I think about a fair bit that frustrates me that it does have this effect. But I've just picked up on, there's a few people who come into work who I always fucking forget their names when I write their copies up. A lot of people just brush it off because they know I remember hundreds of people every day because it's a really busy cafe. Right. But there's a couple of people who have actually given me shit, who have actually had a go at me, just like, come on, mate, I fucking come in here every day for like last 3 months. And there was just that little passing comment and they walk away. I'm like, oh, this person's really affected by this, that I can't remember their name, even though I talk to them every single day of their life. And
do they know your name?
No, they don't know my name. I'm just
well, then you should have just said that. You're like, dude, I come in here every single day.
Yeah. Well, that's I definitely don't think I'm in the wrong. I think they're being, well, frankly, butthurt about it because they need to, like, that's just people having a weird perception on how hospitality works and how your service should be treating you. But nonetheless, it's clearly having some sort of effect on people, and I don't know what to do about that. But anyway, there you go. That's one thing that I think I might have a bigger effect than I think I do.
Nice.
But again, that's not me. That's
relatively
them.
It's a relatively mundane and meaningless thing to you, but it had a significant effect on someone.
Yeah.
It's actually a genuinely good question.
Comment below your response. For the person who wrote that letter in, and also everybody else. All right.
Also, gun to your head, who would you fuck, Caitlyn Jenner or Hillary Clinton? Comment below.
Giles, have you got a response for that question? It's such a bait. It's such a fucking...
It's really tough, isn't it? Because I don't want to fuck Hillary Clinton. For political reasons.
Yeah. But are you transphobic? That's the question, Giles.
Well, to be honest, oh my gosh, I would have to see what the op job was.
I think that's the controversial answer we were looking for.
Is that Is that the Is that also a very like insensitive thing to say?
Potentially.
If it,
I think it's like going into.
Who's holding the gun to my head? By the way, can I fight this person?
If you're attracted to the person, then you should just go for it. It's just, I mean, within like if everyone's consenting, that's like that. If everyone's happy about the situation, then bloody go for it.
Please take that out of context to it.
Yeah. They could choose any fucking part of this podcast and take it out of context. But that's the same with anyone. Like, would you rather fuck this? Like, that's a classic question. Would you rather fuck this person who would be considered ugly, or would you rather fuck a guy? And like, anyone should just be able to answer. Like, well, if I find myself for some reason attracted to this guy, then there's nothing wrong with it. In 2018, that's not even. There shouldn't even be a question. It should just be how you feel at the time, if you're attracted to the person or not. That's a logical answer. Yeah. That's a PC answer for you.
So instead of you being gay about the first answer, you ended up gay about the second question.
I guess so. Comment below how much of a soy boy faggot I am. Fuck the internet, man, and fuck this goddamn podcast.
Yeah, fucking...
This has been Coprolalia, you fuckheads. Thank you so much for listening. If you did, write in like that guy did.
Yeah.
And comment below the answers to the questions. Go to the website below for more stuff. It's my website. It's not Coprolalia website. Disclaimer. And bloody support both of our Patreons with the money that you make. And that's all I've got. Send Todd Howard mean tweets. Fuck Todd Howard.
Yeah, tell Todd that sometimes it doesn't just work.
This has been Coprolalia, boy.